Hi there.
Welcome everybody to the Omni stage at Event Tech Live USA Canada 2021 and to our next session, Future Forecast of Events, Integrated Experiences, What Will Shape Events Marketing. I'm delighted to say that the Marketing Director at Fuel for Thought and VMware, Kate Lechowitz, joins us now. Kate, thanks very much for joining Event Tech Live. I'm not sure if Kate can hear me, guys, so I'm going to hand straight over to her to kick off her session, and I'll be back with Kate a little bit later to take some questions.
Hi, everyone, and welcome from London today. Welcome to those who are on the other side of the ocean. My name is Kate, and I'll be talking to you today about future of hybrid events. I had the privilege to work on both sides, on the end user side, working for one of the biggest cloud company over there responsible for event strategy across Europe and Middle East, as well as helping as a consultant to end user customers build their event strategy. So I sit in both chairs and have access to sort of a both side of the picture. And the last 12 months has changed a lot into what our customers and what we as a big corporates looking at hybrid event strategy. So I hope it will be engaging sessions. I'm going to come back to the bases because those are super important, and we still see a lot of people doing things not necessarily right. A lot of things are new, but a lot of things in hybrid strategy are coming from live and face-to-face events. So they should be known to all of us, but we keep forgetting a lot of those key points. So I will start with those and take you through some of the learnings that myself, my agency, and we as a corporate learn in the last 12 months. So what to focus on? A lot of our customer in recent days asking us, what can we do to become a Tesla or of virtual events? And they all sort of start immediately referring to technology, that they need to do a lot of research to be innovative. That means they have to bring a lot of that tech into the picture. That's not necessarily a true answer. There is a lot of tech available right there. The knowledge is there and tools are there. But again, we need to focus on the things that are coming from the design perspective. So setting the objectives right. And in many cases, event is not an answer or a not correct channel to actually respond to your customer or partner's needs. So it's important to actually establish if it's a right angle for us. Getting all the consensus from decision makers seems to be a very clear point, but we forget a lot of times that this consensus might take a time, especially if it's a complex corporate environment, and we don't give people enough time for response. And then in many cases, those responses came so late and changing everything halfway through our preparation. So again, how to avoid that and what to do to make sure that this consensus come early in a process. Knowing and respecting your audience. Digital environments gives us so many data these days to really understand who the customers who are joining our events are, how they see our content, and there's so much data that we can take, but it doesn't always mean that we do respect the customer points of view. We are reaching to them, we're asking them a lot of questions, we're trying to get insights from every side, and then ignoring them for many reasons. The reason could be that we nor have the time, nor have the money or resources. So we're going halfway through to address their needs and then kind of stopping. So again, this is not the right way, and the customers will always know when you're taking that approach. Planning the experience, again, something that sounds very basic to the events planners, but we still see a lot of mistakes being done on the side, people focusing on the wrong side of the plan and spending a lot of time into something that doesn't bring them forward. So again, we'll touch base on this a bit later. The engagements, again, the key. I would say out of those 8 points, the audience and engagement within the hybrid or digital is the key. So how those engagements changed, what is now sort of a thing that we're all looking at, and why immersive tech is not always the answer. How and why to amplify the engagements? Some of the things that I have seen really work excellent in the last few months, and in the last 3 to sort of 4 months, we're coming back to those hybrid elements with small 100, maybe 150 to 300 people live in the locations across a really big online presence for those face-to-face engagements. So again, we'll talk about a bit of this later on. Training. We still kind of believe that providing a platform training for the staff that helps us, our own staff or staff from the agency who helps us to deliver the event, is the minimum and the only good practice. That's not true. The training for digital events needs to be much more enhanced than usually the training that we even provide to people for face-to-face. And again, I will talk a bit about this later. And of course, the key point, the measure and the reporting that we all know is extremely important, but we keep again forgetting from where we need to start and how those reports should be organized to help us to design a next experiences. So again, few points that I would say are key to start the journey on creating a good experience. So the objectives and defining the goals. As I said, event is not always the correct answer, and we working with our customers trying to explain them that in many cases, because it sounds good, because they see their competitors doing it, it's not always what we would recommend in the first place. But if we both deciding that that's the way to go and they really want to go with hybrid model, those objectives have to be really set in the beginning correctly. So what is the audience that they're trying to get into? Why they actually doing the thing that they're doing? Is it a selling event? Is it just an event where we're trying to get into net new contacts? So what is really lying in the basis of their success? The external factors. So again, working the last few months, I still see a lot of basic mistakes. People not considering different time zones or locations, or platforms availability in different countries, where we sort of starting something that doesn't work in specific locations. Especially in Europe, we see a lot of those issues across countries like Germany or Russia or Turkey, that would block a specific platforms or will not allow specific providers to work because of the GDPR or cookie consent. So again, those are very important elements to consider if you're trying to design international event. The budget, which is always an interesting point. And again, for the last few months, I have seen people going both way, but usually adding more and more dollars into what they're trying to offer. And more money doesn't usually mean a better event. A lot of us are being dragged into conversations with the vendors when they're trying to sell more and more solutions, trying to tell us that we need this and we need that. But I have been doing and attending events where we use platforms completely free of charge, and those that were $200,000, and equally the experience was great, or the free platform provided just a better idea and just a better design that let people to feel more engaged and let people sort of be taken care of. So again, the budget is a critical element in your strategy. Critical and productive thinking. So that's always something what we start with our customers as well. When we start a brainstorming with them and using a critical thinking process to establish a right objectives for the specific activity they want to do. And again, we need to take a customer hat, we need to take a partner hat, we need to take a vendor hat. So again, every view should be considered to get those insights that we ourselves as a planning or producers might not have. And again, what the success will mean. And it's not necessarily just the KPIs that we set, but it's also defining the way that experience will carry on forward. So, we all trying to build a community. We all trying to get engagement beyond one-time events that we run. So again, we need to think about how to be able to measure that and how to be able to sort of put that content from one-time event into the full customer journey, that it provides what we really need from that specific event. So if we look into a next point, which is this sort of getting consensus from the decision makers. It is very much a complex environment in most of the places that we work. And in lots of cases that I worked on, it's not always that we forget to invite someone to the table to discuss, but someone wasn't available or someone was not there when we started the process. People come later to the picture and they have important feedback, or things are changing instantly. And again, we need to make sure that those decision makers are consulted early enough, and we provide a very easy tool for them to give us that feedback, because everything complex will not work. We also have to be very determined about the time frame that we need that content back from them early enough, so we're ready to start. And the questions are pretty much similar to what you would be asking while running a live event. So what is the brand proposition that we want to put out there? What are the expectations of our customers? What is their desire in terms of either a platform and the content that they're looking for? So answering all those questions will give us enough prep to start the process. And something that I said in the beginning as a key point, so knowing and respecting the audience. These days we know a lot about the people to whom we talk, but not always we respect that knowledge or we respect them. As I said, we might take halfway approach and try to get that data and pretend that we use it for designing the agenda, the time frame, the breaks, or the entertainment. But in many cases, there are elements that stop us from getting to an end point. So again, it's important to carry on with that respect through the whole journey, before, during, and after the event. Planning the experience in the hybrid models, I'm sure you all know, we need to make sure it's one event but two different experiences. We shouldn't ever treat our audience at home as a second-class citizens. They will know and they will drop, and they will never come back. So again, making sure that you provide a dedicated moderators for the virtual audience, making sure that some sessions are especially designed for the virtual attendees to join versus those that are live. And I will talk a bit later about creating that engagement between people who are attending live and virtually is difficult. We might be good into engaging both of them with us as the organizer, but getting them talking to each other is harder, and it's a level up. But that's the level that we all need to do, because only then we will make sure that this experience is a joint and a common one. And in terms of preparations, again, what we really trying to work with our customers within the project management is always to focus on what's important and not urgent. So I know that some of you might know Eisenhower decision metrics, but across the project planning is being forgotten many times. And we spend a lot of time in box one in managing those daily little crises that happens on a regular basis every Monday or every Friday. So again, we need to apply the right methodology into the planning. Hybrid events in many cases are more difficult or more challenging than the face-to-face, and lots of people just understood that while pandemic happened. So again, putting a right strategy in place is important. And again, the other factor that we talk about is the 80-20 rule. So most of you might not know who Vilfredo Pareto was, or his Pareto productivity. He was an Italian political scientist in early 20th century. He sort of realized that 80% of the land in Italy is owned by only 20% of its people. He applied this search into lots of other areas of his interest and realized that that rule really apply. And 20% of our activities will always account for 80% of our results. So again, we shouldn't spend a lot of time on the areas that doesn't get us to the end result of the hybrid event we want to do. So we're trying always to make sure with our customers that they are clear where they need to put their attention, what are the weak points, where they need more assistance, and what elements of their event needs a bit more focus than others. And a lot of them will always say, there is a problem with issues like budget and resources. So again, the same principle apply. 80% of constraints are only internal, while 20% are real external. So again, being resourceful is a critical thing here. So again, something to keep in mind while you're doing it. And then the engagement, again, technology isn't an issue, isn't a problem. The knowledge is there. In the last 10 years, we have seen over 5,000 tech startup coming to the play and over $5 billion invested into that sector. So again, knowledge is there. We have plenty of tools. We all trying to learn more and more. And I'm personally doing a lot of immersive tech. But again, what is the key is the design of the event, is how we bringing that creativity to the audience. And this can be done on Zoom, and this can be done without virtual reality or augmented reality, really. It's only that idea that matters, and something that is challenging, new, something that is unexpected. So all this you have to take into consideration. Plus that obviously now being online, we want flexibility. And flexibility is a key element into providing to our audience. So that's something that I would emphasize in that sense. And another element that sort of comes to the play in the last 12 months was the platform. We know that we wouldn't do a research for every single one, but we all probably went through and did a very good research on most of the newcomers and those that been in the market for years before. And the right choice is important, of course. And making a right consideration for consent policy, the security, the reporting that we need. Is it cloud-based or is it on-prem? All that kind of elements. So what we need from the provider, not what the provider can offer us. So then we match our strategy to their tools, which happens quite a lot, but a reverse process. So again, we have to be smart about choosing the right platform, and there is plenty again out there, and it's your choice, but again, you have to make sure that you set your objectives right for that platform of your choice. Amplifying the engagements, again, obviously we know that the time now play a different role. We're trying to go down to very short sessions, very short video content, trying to replicate what TikTok does. That's what people want, a content that is quick and easy to consume. And that sort of engagement that drives a better networking, which helps us to create community, is a key. So we just, again, can't look from the technology perspective, because there is definitely a solution for most of those needs. We just need to come from the point of what is important for my audience, how they will network, and will they even network? We work with some communities that wouldn't actually stick their head out on a video ever, but they will be looking into a specific deep dive chats with technical experts. So again, that is written how we take it forward and what interactive elements we will provide for people. And amplifying the experience, play a key role as well, because that community element, either within the industry we work with or across the industry, is a key to help us to drive that experience beyond one-time event. And we don't want that. We don't want hundreds of thousands of dollars for a day 2 days or 3 days engagements and basically spend rest of the time of replaying the content from those events, because that will never guarantee or will never deliver that community element to us. So we have to be very smart of how we're planning those engagements and what we're planning to do with the content post event, and how we can reach to this audience after that. Creating an expressive blog post, making sure that we invite still the sponsors and the speakers for quick chats. All those elements that we have available through social and either organic or paid media will play a key role into establishing the right solution here. And again, something that I emphasized in the beginning is the training. And we've been living in the world of digital for over 12 months. In some cases, we know that hybrid isn't a new concept. It's been there for 20 years. We just have never paid attention. Or again, for many users, it only meant streaming from the back of the room, and that's completely changed now. But not necessarily everybody who helps to deliver the event sits in that sort of understanding of what this means to us. So I would always say that people who work with us or will help us during the live event need to really understand the mission of this event, the objectives, the program, the strategy, the tactics, not only their function, but they really need to know what we're trying to achieve in order to help to the best possible capability. Because otherwise, they will just be there and do little function and help with a bit, and then off they go. And that's not necessarily what we want. We want everybody's buy-in into what we're trying to do. As much as the training and knowledge we provide to them, and as much their understanding of what we're trying to achieve is there, the experience of the end users will be better. So again, I would say that's a key point in making sure that this all works and your program will be successful. And from my experience, I have seen a lot of people just giving up because they get a response from the staff saying, I have done this 1 billion times. I haven't worked particularly on this platform, but I work on something very similar, so I don't need to attend the training. I don't need any of those documents. Wow, stop. Not really. And again, unless people who work with us fully understand all the options that the platform provides and can really support different elements of networking, they will not be helped. In many cases, they will just disturb the flow, and we will have to step in and help. So again, it doesn't matter how many times and how many of those you delivered, the training has to be done for each and every of them. Otherwise, forget of doing it, because why would you want to set yourself for failure in the first place? And again, measuring and the reporting. So obviously we all know that we can't optimize what we don't know and what we can't measure. And I would say a positive side of the pandemic has been understanding that by a lot of people. Data is the new oil and has been since years. But again, slowly, it has been there in a digital marketing. It has been there at some points on the side, and we always knew it's important and we refer to it. We never really spent so much time as we do right now on those analytics and trying to really understand what how they work and what we can learn from them. And I would say that is definitely a key point for me, seeing more people understanding the value that sits in the systems that are right there. On the other hand, I have also seen people building an extensive, beautiful dashboards where they capture live data that they actually log in at the event, and they can see any interactions. They can sort of adjust the elements as they go, which is brilliant. But it's, in many cases, we need to also understand that some of the data that is being provided to us needs to be extended to the holistic view. So again, we can't be blind on the feedback that sometimes is different than the data that we see in the dashboards. It happens a lot that actually the feedback that we get after the event is not necessarily speaking to what we see first. And if there is a mismatch, why is that happening? So again, we need to take that holistic view of the reporting and make sure that we don't miss any important elements. And we just not have a blind spot on a specific area, because that's not going to be good for us. So again, the immersive, memorable, productive experience can be done, but the data element of it is super important, and make sure that any provider that you work with understands your need in terms of the data and can really support those 8 KPIs that you set. And if they can't, think about changing the provider, think about trying to find the different ways of capturing this via different tools, so that you don't miss, because again, that would be something terrible, as every activity and every event you do is a lesson from which you can take for next time. So this has been a very interesting 12 months, a lot of different learnings that came through for us. But again, I would emphasize that what is still key for hybrid events is the idea, is the design, is the preparation for it. And it's the right use of technology. So again, working with the providers who understands what we need, and not only with those who are trying to sell to us, because their solution might be brilliant. They're great and they're innovative, they're immersive. They might work for someone else, but in our case, that's maybe not what we need. So we have to be just smart of the tech we are choosing, and again, making that whole experience to what we're trying to offer to our customers and partners. So I would say that it's obvious that there won't be a large portion of important meetings or events which will not have a substantial digital extension, and the word hybrid will die. It's dying already. We're simply going to have an events again, set both face to face and digitally, and we will just continue working in that way. It's not going to be a new way. It's going to be the only way that it's there. And we can see this in the early sort of early engagements that we're working on right now, when the face-to-face is slowly coming back, but not in the numbers that we're expecting. And we're all being very conscious into, how many people we can really put in a room. And even though those numbers would get bigger, hopefully as we go, we still need to spend the time to design the virtual element first and then the face-to-face one, because things changed, and virtual events are now the one that we need to start from, not the physical one, and then merging them as a two experience of a one event is a key of what we talked about. So again, making sure that we treat both audiences in a special way, and letting people connect together, not only connecting with us, but connecting with each other, which is a hard learning, because it doesn't always happen that way. So sometimes we're just providing a tools and just carry on with making sure that some people can use the chat and some people can ask live questions because they're in a streaming room, but that's not enough. Either we look into providing iPads to those people on the stage so they can interact with the digital audience, that the moderator is clearly briefed to ask the same amount of questions to people who are online or in the room with us, or there is a specific a design section, a track for the people who join, so they feel like they're being considered in our planning. So that's definitely, I would say, the key to success in a virtual strategy. So thank you. Thank you so much for joining today, for taking time to listen to those tips. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me on Twitter at Kate Lekowitz, or connect online on LinkedIn, anywhere. I'll be happy to answer those questions.
And that's exactly where I'm going to point our audience members to, Kate, because unfortunately we are out of time. There have been some questions popped into Glisser, but if I could suggest that we've got a number of interactions in the grip chat on the Event Tech Live platform as well. So perhaps a conversation could continue in there. If you are in that grip chat, and I can see several people have been commenting in there during your session, Kate, could we copy those questions from the Glisser Q&A and into that chat, and they can be answered in there. But for now, it's been a pleasure to have you here at Event Tech Live, Kate. Thank you so much for your session, and we hope to see you again soon.
Thank you very much.